The notification sound on my phone had been going off every few seconds for the past 3 hours. I couldn't stop grinning as I scrolled through the comments, watching the view count climb higher and higher on my TikTok video. 2 million views and counting. Not bad for a 33-year-old HR administrator from suburban Denver. Ivadne, can you please put that thing down? Caleb's voice cut through my social media high, like a knife through butter. My husband sat across from me at our kitchen table, his morning coffee growing cold as he stared at me with those disappointed brown eyes I'd grown so tired of seeing. Relax, honey. Look at these numbers. I turned my phone toward him, showing the viral video that had made me internet famous overnight. There I was, standing at the altar in my white dress just 6 months ago, the officiant asking if I took Caleb to be my lawfully wedded husband. Instead of the traditional "I do," I had paused dramatically, looked directly at the camera my sister Lynn was holding, and said with a perfectly timed smirk, "Not yet." The wedding guests had erupted in laughter. Well, most of them. Caleb's family had looked mortified, but I thought they were just being their usual uptight selves. The video was hilarious, pure gold, and now the entire internet agreed with me. 2.3 million views now, I announced, refreshing the page. Look at this comment. Queen energy, this bride knows her worth. And this one, imagine having the confidence to roast your own wedding. They get it, Caleb. They understand that it was just a joke. Caleb set down his coffee mug with deliberate precision. Everything my husband did was deliberate and precise. As a high school math teacher, he approached life like it was one big equation that needed to be solved methodically. It was one of the things that had attracted me to him initially, but now it just felt suffocating. A joke, he repeated flatly. At our wedding, in front of our families, in front of God. Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. Everyone laughed. My grandmother didn't laugh. My parents didn't laugh. Your own mother looked embarrassed. I waved my hand dismissively. Mom thought it was hilarious. She told me so afterward. And your family needs to learn to loosen up. Life's too short to be serious all the time. The truth was, I had been planning that moment for weeks. I'd seen similar wedding prank videos going viral and knew I could do it better. The timing had to be perfect, the delivery flawless. And it had been. The video proved it. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Lynn. Girl, you're everywhere. Just saw your video on 3 different Instagram accounts. You're famous. I showed Caleb the message, but his expression didn't change. See? Lynn gets it. She's the one who suggested I post it in the first place. Lynn suggested you humiliate me on the internet. Nobody humiliated you. If anything, I made our wedding memorable. Do you know how many boring wedding videos are out there? Ours actually means something. It has personality. Caleb stood up from the table and walked to the window, looking out at our quiet suburban street. We'd bought this house 2 years ago, both of us dreaming of filling it with children and laughter. Now it felt like we were roommates who happened to share a mortgage. Ivadne, do you understand what you've done? I had 3 different colleagues show me that video yesterday. 3. My students are probably watching it right now, making jokes about their math teacher who got roasted at his own wedding. So what? Let them see that you have a wife with a sense of humor. Let them see that you're not just some boring teacher. He turned back to face me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Not anger exactly, something colder, more final. Is that what you think of me? That I'm boring? The question caught me off guard. I didn't say you were boring. I said you were serious. There's a difference. Is there? My phone buzzed again. Another comment notification. I glanced at it instinctively, and Caleb noticed. Right, he said quietly. I can see where your priorities are. He left the kitchen without another word, and I heard his footsteps on the stairs, then the sound of our bedroom door closing. I wanted to follow him, to explain that he was overreacting, but another notification pulled my attention back to my phone. A comment from someone named Jasper Q34. Marry me instead, I can take a joke. I clicked on his profile. Jasper Quinn. The name sounded familiar. Scrolling through his photos, I recognized him. He'd been in Caleb's college friend group. Tall, dark hair, that easy smile that suggested he didn't take anything too seriously. Everything my husband wasn't. Before I could think better of it, I replied, "Thanks for understanding the joke. Some people need to lighten up." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. His response came immediately. Their loss? Coffee sometime? I'd love to hear more of your comedy material. I stared at the message for a long moment. It was harmless flirting, nothing more. Just someone who appreciated my sense of humor. After 6 months of Caleb's disappointed looks and lectures about appropriateness, it felt good to talk to someone who got it. Sure, I typed back. I know a great place downtown. Upstairs, I could hear Caleb moving around in our bedroom, probably getting ready for work. He'd get over this eventually. He always did. He'd realized that I was right, that the video was harmless fun, and things would go back to normal. My phone buzzed with another notification. 4 million views now. The comments were pouring in faster than I could read them. People were sharing their own wedding prank stories, tagging their friends, creating response videos. I was internet famous, and it felt incredible. The coffee shop downtown was busier than I'd expected for a Tuesday afternoon. I'd taken a long lunch break from work, telling my supervisor I had a dentist appointment. Technically, I wasn't lying. I was taking care of my emotional health, which was just as important as dental hygiene. Jasper was already waiting at a corner table when I arrived, and he stood up to greet me with a hug that lasted just a second longer than appropriate. He smelled like expensive cologne and possibility. "The famous TikTok bride," he said with that easy grin I remembered from college parties. I have to say that video was genius, pure comedy gold. Thank you. I settled into the chair across from him, feeling validated in a way I hadn't experienced in months. Finally, someone who understands that it was just a joke. Caleb's been acting like I committed some terrible crime. Caleb always was too serious for his own good. Even in college, he was the guy who'd remind everyone about assignments and curfews. No sense of adventure. I sipped my latte and studied Jasper's face. He'd aged well since college, with just enough grey at his temples to look distinguished but not old. His LinkedIn profile said he worked in marketing for a tech startup, which explained the designer clothes and confident demeanor. "So tell me," he leaned forward conspiratorially, "what gave you the idea for the video? It was so perfectly timed." "I'd been planning it for weeks," I admitted. "I saw these other wedding prank videos going viral and thought I could do something better, more sophisticated, and the timing had to be perfect, right at the moment when everyone expected me to say, 'I do.'" "Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You've got great comedic instincts." We talked for over an hour about everything and nothing. Jasper told me about his job, his apartment downtown, his weekend trips to Aspen. He asked about my work in HR, and when I mentioned some of the ridiculous employee complaints I had to deal with, he laughed like I was the funniest person he'd ever met. "You should do more videos," he suggested as we prepared to leave. "You've got a natural talent for this. Don't let anyone dim your shine." As we walked out together, he placed his hand on the small of my back, a gesture that could have been innocent, but felt charged with possibility. Someone walking by took a photo of us, probably recognizing me from the viral video. "Looks like you're still famous," Jasper said, noticing the photographer. "I guess so." I felt a thrill at being recognized, at being seen as someone worth photographing. "We should do this again soon," he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek goodbye. "Don't let the haters get you down." I drove home feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Here was someone who understood me, who appreciated my sense of humor and creativity. Someone who didn't make me feel like I had to apologize for being myself. Caleb was already home when I walked through the front door, sitting at his laptop at the kitchen table with papers spread around him, probably grading tests or planning lessons. He looked up when I entered, his expression unreadable. "How was the dentist?" he asked. "Fine, just a cleaning." The lie came easily. It wasn't really a lie anyway. I had cleaned my emotional palate by talking to someone who appreciated me. Interesting. He turned his laptop screen toward me. On it was a photo posted to Instagram by someone called Denver Spotted. Me and Jasper, walking out of the coffee shop together, his hand on my back, both of us smiling. My stomach dropped, but I forced myself to stay calm. "It's not what it looks like." "What does it look like, Evadne?" "Like two old friends having coffee," which is exactly what it was. "Old friends, right." Caleb's voice was eerily calm. "Jasper Quinn, I remember him from college. He was always hitting on other guys' girlfriends at parties. We just talked, Caleb, about my video, about work. It was completely innocent." "Was it innocent when he posted this?" He clicked to another tab, showing Jasper's Instagram story. It was a photo of his coffee cup with the caption, "Great conversation with a brilliant, beautiful woman. Some guys don't know how good they have it." The emoji felt like a slap. I hadn't seen him post that, hadn't known he was documenting our meeting. I can't control what he posts on his social media. But you can control whether you meet him for secret coffee dates. It wasn't secret. I just didn't mention it because I knew you'd overreact, like you're doing right now. Caleb closed his laptop and gathered his papers into a neat stack. "I'm not overreacting. I'm observing. My wife lies about where she's going, so she can meet up with a guy who's publicly flirting with her online. A guy who's now posting about their great conversation and making pointed comments about how I don't appreciate what I have. You're being paranoid." "Am I?" He stood up holding his papers. 6 months ago you humiliated me at our wedding for internet fame. Now you're sneaking around with other men and lying about it. What exactly am I supposed to think? You're supposed to trust me. I'm your wife." "Yes, you are. The wife who said not yet when asked if you'd marry me. Maybe I should have listened to you then." He left the kitchen, and I heard his footsteps on the stairs again. This was becoming a pattern, him walking away whenever we had a disagreement instead of fighting it out like normal couples. My phone buzzed with a text from Jasper. "Thanks for the coffee. Hope your husband appreciates how lucky he is. Let me know when you want to do it again." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. The smart thing would be to delete it, to block Jasper's number, to go upstairs and apologize to Caleb. Instead, I typed back, "I had a great time too. Same time next week?" His response was immediate. "Can't wait." I deleted the message thread and went upstairs to find Caleb. He was in his study, the small room we'd designated as his home office, with the door closed. I could hear him on the phone with someone, his voice too low to make out the words. When he finally came to bed that night, he didn't try to cuddle like he usually did. He lay on his side of the bed, facing away from me, and I could feel the distance between us like a physical thing. "Caleb," I whispered into the darkness, "are you awake?" "Yes." "I'm sorry, about the coffee thing. I should have told you." "Yes, you should have. It really was innocent. Just two old friends catching up." He was quiet for so long I thought he'd fallen asleep. Then, "Evadne, do you want to be married to me?" The question startled me. "Of course I do. Why would you ask that?" "Because everything you've done in the past 6 months suggests otherwise. The wedding video, the lying, the secret meetings with other men. These aren't the actions of someone who wants to be married. I do want to be married to you. I want you to appreciate me more, to see that I'm fun and creative and worth celebrating." "I married you, didn't I? What more proof do you need that I think you're worth celebrating?" I didn't have an answer for that. In the silence that followed, I heard him sigh deeply. I'm going to sleep in the guest room tonight, he said, getting up from the bed. I need some space to think. As I lay alone in our king-sized bed, I told myself that this was temporary. Marriage had rough patches. We'd work through this like we'd work through everything else. Caleb would realize he was overreacting, and things would go back to normal. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, I wondered if normal was what I really wanted anymore. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from my sister Lynn and a text that made my blood run cold. Check Instagram now. I fumbled for my phone, my heart racing as I opened the app. The first thing I saw was a post from Odd Denver Spotted with over 3,000 likes. It was the photo of me and Jasper from yesterday, but now it had a caption that made everything worse. Viral TikTok bride spotted getting cozy with mystery man downtown. Trouble in paradise? Not yet. Georgia marriage drama. The comments were brutal. Yikes, maybe she should have stuck with not yet. Poor husband. First she humiliates him at their wedding, now this. This is why you don't marry attention seekers. Plot twist, she was serious about not yet. But mixed in with the criticism were supporters. Y'all are so judgmental. She's allowed to have friends. Men and women can be platonic. Stop assuming the worst. Her husband probably is boring if she needs to find conversation elsewhere. I screenshot some of the supportive comments and texted them to Lynn with a message. See, not everyone is jumping to conclusions. She called me immediately. Evadne, what the hell is going on? Mum's freaking out. She saw the post because Mrs. Henderson from down the street sent it to her. Nothing is going on. I had coffee with an old friend. That's literally it. An old friend who's posting thirsty comments on your TikTok and taking you out for secret coffee dates. It wasn't secret. I just didn't announce it to the world because I knew people would overreact. Like they're doing right now. Honey, I love you, but this looks really bad. Especially coming right after the wedding video. People are starting to talk. Let them talk, I know the truth. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're playing with fire. After I hung up with Lynn, I tried to focus on work, but it was impossible. My phone kept buzzing with notifications, and I could feel my co-worker's eyes on me every time I checked it. Finally, around noon, my supervisor Janet called me into her office. Evadne, we need to talk. Janet was in her 50s, a no-nonsense woman who'd been in HR longer than I'd been alive. She gestured for me to sit down and close the door behind me. Is this about the Henderson account? Because I already submitted those reports. It's about your social media presence. My stomach dropped. My social media. I've had 3 clients mention your viral video in meetings this week. One of them asked if our company endorses employees who make a mockery of marriage. Another saw the Instagram post about you and some man and questioned your professionalism. Janet, my personal life has nothing to do with my work performance. Normally I'd agree. But when your personal life becomes public entertainment and reflects poorly on the company, it becomes my problem. She leaned forward, her expression sympathetic but firm. I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but perception matters in this business. Our clients trust us with their most sensitive employee issues. They need to see us as stable, professional, discreet. So what are you saying? I'm saying you might want to consider taking a step back from social media for a while. Let this blow over. Focus on your work and your marriage. The word marriage hit me like a physical blow. Even Janet could see that my marriage was in trouble. I understand, I said, though I didn't really. How was it fair that I was being punished for having a sense of humor and living my life? When I got home that evening, Caleb was in the kitchen making dinner. He'd made enough for 2, which I took as a good sign, until I realized he was packing half of it into containers for leftovers. How was work? He asked without looking at me. Fine. Yours? Interesting. I had 4 different people show me that Instagram post today. 4. Including the principal. I set my purse down harder than necessary. I'm sorry that my existence is embarrassing to you. Your existence isn't embarrassing. Your choices are. What choices? Having coffee with a friend. Lying about having coffee with a friend. Meeting secretly with a man who's publicly flirting with you. Allowing him to post suggestive comments about our marriage. I can't control what he posts. You can control whether you encourage it. Caleb finally looked at me, and I saw that cold, distant expression again. It was worse than anger. Anger I could fight against, could argue with. This detached calm was like trying to argue with a wall. I found something interesting today, he said, pulling out his phone. I was going through our joint credit card statement for our taxes, and I noticed a charge from yesterday. $43 at Brewster's Coffee downtown, the same coffee shop where you were photographed with Jasper. My mouth went dry. So you told me you went to the dentist. Dentists don't usually serve lattes. I stopped for coffee after the appointment. Really? Because I called Dr. Peterson's office today to confirm your appointment for our insurance records. They said you haven't been in for 6 months. The lie crumbled in my mouth. There was no point in denying it now. Fine, I lied about the dentist, but only because I knew you'd overreact about the coffee thing. The coffee thing. Is that what we're calling it? Yes, because that's what it was. Coffee, conversation. Nothing more. Caleb nodded slowly, like he was processing this information. Then he did something that chilled me to the bone. He pulled out a small notebook and wrote something down. What are you doing? Taking notes. Notes about what? About our conversations. About the timeline of events. About the lies. Why? He looked up at me with those cold, distant eyes. Because I'm starting to think I might need them. That night I lay awake in our bed alone again, listening to Caleb move around in the guest room. The house felt different somehow, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through the comments on the Instagram post. Most of them were still negative, but there were enough supportive ones to make me feel justified. These people understood that I was being unfairly judged, that my husband was being controlling and paranoid. A direct message notification popped up from Jasper. Saw the drama online. Hope you're okay. Coffee again tomorrow. I promise to be more discreet. I stared at the message for a long time. The smart thing would be to say no, to focus on my marriage, to prove to Caleb that he had nothing to worry about. But looking around our empty bedroom, listening to my husband sleep in another room, I realized I didn't want to be smart anymore. I wanted to be appreciated. I wanted to feel alive. Same time, same place, I typed back. And don't worry about being discreet. I'm done hiding. 3 weeks later, I was practically living a double life. During the day, I played the role of the remorseful wife, apologizing to Caleb for the misunderstandings and promising to be more transparent. But every few days, I'd find an excuse to meet Jasper for coffee, lunch, or drinks after work. He was everything Caleb wasn't. Spontaneous, flirtatious, exciting. He made me feel like the most interesting woman in the world, hanging on my every word like I was dispensing wisdom instead of just complaining about my boring marriage. You're too good for him, Jasper said during our latest meeting at a wine bar downtown. You're creative, funny, beautiful. You should be with someone who celebrates those qualities instead of trying to dim your light. Sometimes I think you're right, I admitted, feeling bold from the wine and his attention. I feel like I'm dying a slow death in that house. Everything has to be so serious, so proper. God forbid I have a personality. Life's too short to be miserable. You know what you should do? You should start posting videos again. Show the world who you really are. Caleb would hate that. So, it's your life, isn't it? That evening, emboldened by wine and validation, I posted a new TikTok video. It was me lip-syncing to a popular song about being underappreciated, with the caption, "When you're married to someone who doesn't get your sense of humor, she married life, or not yet, Chucka stay true." The video got 100,000 views in the first hour. The comments were a mix of support and criticism, but I focused on the positive ones. Queen, don't let anyone dull your sparkle. Your husband is lucky to have you. Make more videos. You're hilarious. I was riding high on the attention until I heard Caleb's car in the driveway. I quickly put my phone away and pretended to be reading a book when he walked in. "How was work?" I asked innocently. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he set down his briefcase and pulled out his phone. "Interesting day," he said finally. "I had 6 different people show me your new video. 6, including my principal, who asked if I needed to take some personal time to work on my marriage." My stomach sank, but I tried to play it off. People need to mind their own business. You made it their business when you posted it online. His voice was still that eerily calm tone that had become his default around me. "Tell me, Evadne, what part of our marriage problems do you think is appropriate to share with strangers on the internet?" I didn't share anything specific. It was just a joke. A joke about being married to someone who doesn't get your sense of humor. A joke that millions of people can see, including my colleagues, my students, our families. Maybe if you actually did get my sense of humor, I wouldn't have to look for understanding elsewhere. The words hung in the air between us like a confession. Caleb nodded slowly, that same processing expression on his face. "Elsewhere, like with Jasper Quinn?" "I don't know what you mean." "Really? Because I had an interesting conversation with my friend Marcus today. He mentioned seeing you and Jasper at Murphy's bar last week. Said you two looked pretty cozy." I felt the blood drain from my face. Murphy's was across town. I thought we were safe there. "We're just friends. Friends who meet secretly and lie about it. Friends who post suggestive comments on each other's social media. Friends who go to bars together while your husband thinks you're working late." "I never said I was working late." "You said you had to stay for a team meeting. I called your office. Janet said you left at 5:30. Another lie exposed. I was running out of explanations that didn't make me sound guilty. "Caleb, you're being paranoid. You're checking up on me, calling my work, having me followed." "I'm not having you followed. I don't need to. You're posting your life online for everyone to see." He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. It was from Jasper's Instagram story. A photo of 2 wine glasses with the caption, "Great conversation with an amazing woman. Her husband doesn't know how lucky he is." I didn't know he posted that. Of course you didn't, just like you didn't know about all the other posts, all the comments, all the little breadcrumbs you're leaving for everyone to follow. Caleb sat down across from me, and for the first time in weeks, he looked tired instead of angry. "Evadne, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Are you having an affair?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "No, God, no, we're just friends." "Are you attracted to him?" I hesitated a second too long. "No." "Are you emotionally involved with him?" Another hesitation. "We're friends, Caleb, that's all." "Do you talk to him about our marriage, about our problems?" "Sometimes. He's a good listener." "Do you complain about me to him?" We talk about everything. That's what friends do." Caleb nodded, making another note in that damn notebook. "What are you writing?" "The truth, since I can't seem to get it from you directly. This is insane. You're treating me like a criminal. I'm treating you like someone who's been lying to me for months." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Caleb's questions, about the hurt in his eyes when I couldn't answer them honestly. Maybe I was being unfair. Maybe I should end things with Jasper and focus on my marriage. But then I remembered how alive I felt when I was with him, how appreciated and understood. Was it so wrong to want to feel valued? My phone buzzed with a text from Jasper. "Thinking about you. Hope your husband realizes what he has before it's too late." Before I could stop myself, I replied, "Some people don't appreciate what's right in front of them." "Their loss? You deserve someone who sees how special you are." "Thank you. You always know what to say." "Because I pay attention, unlike some people." I fell asleep with my phone in my hand, Jasper's words echoing in my mind. He was right. I deserved better. I deserved someone who celebrated me instead of trying to control me. What I didn't know was that Caleb was still awake in the guest room, making detailed notes about times, dates, and lies. What I didn't know was that he'd already consulted with a lawyer. What I didn't know was that my husband, quiet, methodical, precise Caleb, was building a case. The family barbecue at Eleanor and Richard's house was supposed to be a peaceful Sunday afternoon. Caleb's parents had invited both our families to celebrate his father's retirement, and I'd been looking forward to it all week. It would be a chance to show everyone that our marriage was fine, that all the gossip and speculation was just noise. I should have known better. Evadne, honey, can I talk to you for a minute? Lydia, Caleb's younger sister, pulled me aside while the men were grilling burgers and the older women were setting up the buffet table. Sure, what's up? I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. Are you cheating on my brother? The directness of the question caught me off guard. Lydia had always been blunt, but this was aggressive even for her. Of course not. Why would you ask that? Because I have eyes, Evadne. Because I've seen the Instagram posts, the TikTok videos, the comments from this Jasper guy. Because half of Denver is talking about how the viral bride is running around town with another man. People love to gossip. That doesn't make it true. Really, because I saw you myself last Thursday, at that new restaurant on 16th Street, with him. My blood turned to ice. I'd been so careful, choosing places across town, avoiding the usual spots where we might run into someone we knew. But Denver wasn't that big, and Caleb's family was everywhere. We're friends, Lydia, that's all. Friends who hold hands across the table. Friends who look at each other like that. Like what? Like you want to tear each other's clothes off. Heat flooded my cheeks. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I was sitting, it looked like you were on a date, a romantic date, while your husband was at home, probably thinking you were at your book club. I don't have to explain myself to you. No, you don't, but you should explain yourself to Caleb, before someone else does. Is that a threat? Lydia's expression softened slightly. It's a warning, from someone who loves you both. Caleb is my brother, but I care about you too. You're destroying your marriage, and for what? Some guy who's probably just looking for a good time with a married woman. You don't know anything about Jasper. I know he's posting about you on social media while you're married to someone else. I know he's encouraging you to make videos that humiliate my brother. I know he's the kind of man who goes after married women. What does that tell you about his character? Before I could answer, my mother appeared beside us, slightly out of breath from chasing my nephew around the yard. What are you girls talking about so seriously? Nothing, Mom, just catching up. But Lydia wasn't done. Actually, Mrs. Marshall, maybe you can help me understand something. Do you think it's appropriate for a married woman to be spending time alone with another man? Going to restaurants, posting flirty comments online, lying to her husband about where she's been? My mother's face went pale. Lydia, I'm sure there's an explanation. There is, I interrupted. The explanation is that I'm allowed to have friends, male friends, and I don't need permission from anyone to live my life. Even if those friends are trying to break up your marriage, Lydia shot back. No one's trying to break up my marriage except maybe you, with all these accusations and threats. I'm trying to save your marriage, but you're too busy playing victim to see it. The conversation was attracting attention now. I could see Eleanor glancing over nervously, and Richard had stopped flipping burgers to listen. You know what? I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm tired of being treated like a criminal for having a social life. I'm tired of being judged for every post, every comment, every coffee date. I'm a grown woman, and I can do whatever I want. Even if it hurts your husband. This came from Eleanor, who had walked over with a concerned expression. Caleb is hurting himself by being so paranoid and controlling. I've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong? Lydia laughed bitterly. You humiliated him at your wedding. You're sneaking around with another man, you're posting about your marriage problems online, and you think you've done nothing wrong. The wedding video was a joke, the rest is just friendship. If Caleb can't handle that, maybe he's not the man I thought he was. The words hung in the air like a bomb. I could see the shock on everyone's faces, the way they were processing what I'd just said. Maybe he's not the man you thought he was, Eleanor repeated quietly. Evadne, he's been the same man since the day you met him. Loyal, honest, hard-working, devoted to you. If he's not the man you thought he was, maybe you should ask yourself why you married him. Maybe I should ask myself a lot of things. The admission slipped out before I could stop it. I saw Eleanor's face crumple, saw Richard set down his spatula and walk toward the house. Lydia just stared at me with disgust. Wow, she said finally. Just wow. I hope he's worth it, Evadne. I hope this Jasper guy is worth destroying your marriage, your reputation, and your relationships with everyone who loves you. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but suddenly I felt very alone. My own mother was looking at me like she didn't recognize me. Lynn, who had been quiet throughout the exchange, was shaking her head sadly. I think I should go, I said. Yeah, Lydia agreed. I think you should. I found Caleb in the kitchen, helping his mother put away food with mechanical precision. He looked up when I entered, and I could see in his eyes that he'd heard everything. Ready to go? I asked. Are you? What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe you'd rather stay and continue airing our private business in front of our families. Maybe you'd rather call them all paranoid and controlling too. Caleb, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. You meant every word. And you know what? I'm starting to think you're right. Right about what? About me not being the man you thought I was. Because the man you thought I was would put up with this forever. Would keep making excuses for you, keep believing your lies, keep pretending that everything was fine, while you destroyed our marriage one post at a time. He dried his hands on a dish towel and looked at me with those cold, distant eyes. But I'm not that man anymore. The drive home was silent. When we got to the house, Caleb went straight to his study and closed the door. I could hear him on the phone, his voice too low to make out words. I went upstairs to our bedroom and called Jasper. Hey, beautiful, how was the family thing? Awful. They all hate me. Their loss. You don't need people like that in your life. Maybe you're right. Maybe I need to start thinking about what I really want. What do you want? I looked around our bedroom, at the wedding photos on the dresser, at the life I'd built with a man who apparently wasn't who I thought he was. I want to be happy, I said finally. Then be happy. Life's too short to waste on people who don't appreciate you. After we hung up, I posted another TikTok video. This one was me lip-syncing to a song about knowing your worth, with the caption, When your own family turns against you for living your truth, don't you know your worth, can't you not yet, just stay strong. The video got 2 million views overnight. The comments were brutal, but I focused on the supportive ones, the people who understood that I was being unfairly judged. What I didn't see was Caleb in his study, printing out screenshots of every post, every comment, every interaction. What I didn't see was the folder on his desk labeled evidence growing thicker by the day. What I didn't know was that my husband had already filed the papers. The knock on the door came at exactly 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was still in my pajamas, drinking coffee and scrolling through my phone, when the sharp, official sound echoed through our house. Caleb had left for work early, as he'd been doing for weeks now. We barely spoke anymore, just moved around each other, like polite strangers sharing space. I'd convinced myself this was temporary, that we'd work through it eventually. I opened the door to find a serious-looking woman in a business suit holding a manila envelope. Evadne Hartley? Yes. You've been served. She handed me the envelope and walked away before I could ask any questions. My hands were shaking as I tore it open, my coffee forgotten on the hall table. The words hit me like physical blows. Petition for dissolution of marriage. Irreconcilable differences. Division of assets. Caleb James Hartley, petitioner, versus Evadna Marie Hartley, respondent. I sank onto our couch, reading through page after page of legal language that essentially said my husband wanted to divorce me. But it wasn't just a simple divorce petition. There were exhibits attached, screenshots of my social media posts, photos of me with Jasper, credit card statements showing charges at restaurants and bars, a detailed timeline of my activities over the past several months. Everything was there. Every lie I'd told, every secret meeting, every flirtatious comment. It was all documented with timestamps and evidence, laid out like a prosecutor's case. My phone rang. It was Lynn. Ivadne, what the hell is going on? Caleb just called Mom and told her you were being served with divorce papers this morning. I'm holding them right now. Jesus Christ, are you okay? I don't know, I don't understand. We never even talked about divorce. He never said he wanted to end our marriage. Honey, you've been posting about your marriage problems online for months. You've been sneaking around with another man. What did you think was going to happen? I thought we'd work through it. I thought he'd realize he was being too controlling, and we'd find a middle ground. By middle ground, you mean he'd let you keep seeing Jasper? The question hung in the air. I realized I didn't have a good answer. It wasn't like that. Wasn't it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. Stay married for the security, but have a boyfriend on the side for the excitement. That's not... We never did anything physical. Does it matter? You were emotionally cheating, Evadne. You were sharing intimate details about your marriage with another man. You were going on dates. You were falling for him. The truth of her words hit me hard. I had been falling for Jasper. I'd been fantasizing about what life would be like with someone who understood me, who appreciated my humor and creativity. I need to call him, Caleb. I need to explain. Explain what? That you didn't mean it? That it was all just a misunderstanding? I need to try to save my marriage. Do you? Do you really want to save it? Or do you just not want to face the consequences of your choices? I hung up on her and immediately called Caleb. It went straight to voicemail. Caleb, it's me. I got the papers. Please call me back. We need to talk about this. We can work through this. Please don't do this to us. I called 3 more times. Each call went to voicemail. Finally, I texted him. Please come home so we can talk. I love you. I don't want a divorce. His response came an hour later. I'll be home at 6. We can talk then. I spent the day frantically calling lawyers. The one I could afford was blunt. Caleb had documented everything: texts, meetings, posts. Contesting the divorce would make it all public record. That evening, Caleb came home looking older, resolute. I begged. I'll stop seeing Jasper. I'll delete everything. We can fix this. He shook his head. You told me I was controlling when I asked you to stop. Paranoid when I worried about Jasper. You chose lies over honesty every time. I sobbed, promising I could change. You're promising now because you got caught, he said quietly. Not because you chose us. He showed me my latest TikTok, the one painting our families as villains for trying to save our marriage. Then he asked the question that broke me. If Jasper asked you to leave me for him, what would you say? I couldn't answer, because deep down I'd been waiting for Jasper to ask. That's why I'm done, Caleb said. I want someone who chooses me every day, not just when the alternative disappears. He packed a bag and left for his parents' house. I stared at a text from Jasper. Dinner tonight, beautiful. And deleted it. But it was too late. 3 months later, the divorce was final. Caleb kept the house, most of our friends, his dignity. I kept my freedom. Jasper vanished the moment I was actually single. The thrill had been in the secrecy, not in me. The viral fame faded. I became just another cautionary tale. Sometimes I see Caleb around town. He looks lighter, happier. Word is he's dating someone who values the man he is, not the drama he isn't. I said not yet as a joke at our wedding. He answered with never for real. And he was right.